Well, some new information in the scandal that has rocked USA Swimming and really, quite frankly, the United States and Brazil. Ryan Lochte apologizing today on social media for his actions, saying, quote, "I want to apologize for my behavior last weekend, for not being more careful and candid in how I described the events of that early morning, and for my role in taking the focus away from the many athletes fulfilling their dreams of participating in the Olympics. I waited to share these thoughts until it was confirmed that the legal situation was addressed and it was clear that my teammates would be arriving home safely. It's traumatic to be out late with your friends in a foreign country with a language barrier and have a stranger point a gun at you and demand money to let you leave. But regardless of the behavior of anyone else that night, I should have been much more responsible in how I handled myself. And for that, I am sorry for my teammates, my fans, my fellow competitors, my sponsors, and the hosts of this great event." Again, just part of a statement from Ryan Lochte this morning. This comes as Brazilian police blame Lochte and teammate Jimmy Fegan for lying to authorities about being robbed at gunpoint to hide the fact that they and two other teammates had vandalized a gas station after a night of partying. Authorities in Rio had been weighing possible charges that could land the swimmers in jail. But now that all four have left Brazil, is this case indeed closed? Let's talk to our legal panel about this. Fred Tisi is a former federal prosecutor. Yodit Tewolde is a criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. All right, guys, so there's the court of public opinion, which we will get to, I promise. I promise you, Fred, I'll get to it. But let's just start with the legal side of this. Yodit, are there any legal repercussions to what we saw transpire this week?
You know, the Brazilian government or the authorities were recommending that Lochte and the other individual, the other swimmer, be charged with falsifying a report, a police report, as well as vandalism charges. But we're looking at just now a possible charge for falsifying a police report, but the likelihood of Lochte and any of those swimmers being tried for a misdemeanor back in Brazil is slim to zero. I mean, slim to none, so to speak, because nobody in the U.S. will not send any of their U.S. swimmers back to Brazil, especially on a misdemeanor charge that only holds up to a 6-month prison sentence. So the likelihood of this going forward, absolutely slim to none. It's done.
Fred, I'm curious what you think about this and whether or not there's any legal ramifications stateside for it.
Well, you know, interestingly, there can be. I mean, there's precedent for this. Back in 2006, there was actually an aircraft accident, and 2 U.S. pilots were tried in the U.S. because they refused to go back to Brazil for an accident that resulted in a large loss of life. So, I mean, there is precedent. But again, we're talking about a misdemeanor. This is a summary offense, and the police had already said, and consistent with the charging, he's not going to be charged. None of them are charged for actually underlying vandalism. It's always the cover-up that ends up being worse. They lied about the whole thing, and as you said earlier, they lied to cover up the fact that they were overserved, drunk, and they trashed a bathroom. And so in order to try and protect some semblance of their reputation, such as it is, they lied and they poked their fingers in the Brazilian authorities' eyes, and this is what they get.
Overserved. I like that. Just innocently overserved after a night out in Rio.
That's my one act of kindness towards them.
That was really nice, Fred. Thank you for that. One of the things that you say is, okay, so the descriptions don't really match up. However, they were being held at gunpoint by someone that wasn't an official police officer. So you say it actually could qualify as a robbery.
Well, if I were...
Go ahead, and then Fred, you can weigh in. Go ahead.
If I were defending Lochte, then that would be my precise argument that, you know what, with the language barrier, you have a gun and some sort of money exchanged, and that was confirmed by the Brazilian authorities. Yeah, you could possibly make the argument that Lochte at that point believed he was being robbed, because in America, that's exactly what it is. However, I don't believe that. There was a translator. One of the swimmers admitted that they weren't robbed. So what was it about Lochte and in that situation that believed that he was actually being robbed? It doesn't pass the smell test.
Fred.
Period.
But that's the whole point. You know what? I say this all the time, Jenna. When you have to eat it, you don't nibble. What he should have done is come out, because he didn't want to admit that he was drunk and trashed a bathroom. He should have come out and said, "Guess what? We made a mistake. We were drunk. We trashed a bathroom, and what we did was wrong. But it doesn't warrant having some guy point a gun at us and shake us down for money to fix this guy's toilet." But that wasn't the story.
It doesn't
warrant. We were robbed.
Go ahead,
It doesn't warrant that, but law enforcement's different. You're in a different country. You're not in the U.S. So at the end of the day, that is what is fair enough, and that is typical of Brazilian officers to control a situation by pointing a gun. Despite all of that, Lochte continues to lie with that half-hearted apology he just issued. He continues to lie, and that's he's not taking accountability, and he's not manning up.
It's traumatic to be out late with your friends. It's traumatic to be out late with your friends in a foreign country.
No, it's not traumatic.
I'm sorry.
No one forced them to leave and go out at 1:30. No.
The law does not protect the stupid.
Fred, you have 4 sons, Fred. So you're not only an attorney, but you're a dad of 4 boys. I mean, how would you handle this? How would Fred the father handle this? How would Fred the lawyer handle this?
Well, forget Fred the father. I mean, because as I tell my kids, the 4th Amendment and the 5th Amendment end at the curb. Most of them end at the curb. But as a parent, you raise your children to, when you make a mistake, everybody makes mistakes. I tell my kids this all the time. It's what you do after that defines you as a person. If you own up to it, admit that you were wrong, and tell the truth, that's usually the end of it. But this guy continues. He can't help himself. He just kind of continues to spin it like some entitled fraternity pals.
That's exactly what it is, entitlement.
So you both would like a more sincere apology, it sounds like, and more ownership over this to say,
I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry I lied would have been appropriate.
Yep.
And you know what? It's disappointing that people on social media are giving him an excuse and calling this just boys will be boys type of behavior when, in fact, he is not a boy. He's a 32-year-old man who should have known better, period.
We'll see. So this is a statement. It came out about an hour ago. We'll see how it plays throughout the day, if he issues another one or if anything else comes from it. We're also going to be speaking to a sports agent in our next hour of Happening Now who's handled, how do I put this, some delicate situations. And we'll see what kind of advice he'd give these athletes. Yodit and Fred, it's great to have you both. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Jenna.
Enjoy your weekend.